collectors, welcome back. We are here again with another CGC unboxing, and I admit I've already split the box, and I split the box just to check it. I just wanted to look at the contents before I got going, or just get an overall idea before I start pulling things out, because it did take, there's some damage. You can see some rolling there and some crushing. You can never be too safe, although I'll give CGC credit, they do pack these very well. So whether you're into grading or not, and I don't just grade, I like grading, but I also have tons of loose stuff, and I read a lot of the vintage books, and I also have done PGX, CBCS, and they're starting to look a lot better, quite frankly, considering how long it takes now to get anything back from CGC. But we're going to take a look in here. I sent this away, about 19 years ago, it feels like. And to give you the idea of the packaging, I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to see how thick that is. It's about an inch thick. To give you an idea of how they pack there. And then I'm going to put this to the floor and start pulling stuff up. So they do a good job. I think it would have been nice to have just a little bit of elbow room on the inside, because these are packed very tightly. I'm going to have to pull some of the material out first, but that's okay. It looks like everything's intact. So we're going to put this down here. And as some of you know, I also do like cleaning and pressing and restoring. And so these are all books that I worked on. So it's nice to see them come back and see the end results of the effort that you put into it. Although I don't have before pictures, and my wife here behind the camera, LPH, hi LPH, had suggested that maybe I should start doing before pictures. I've done a couple of restoration videos just to show people, but I've gotten some unbelievable results out of this, because when you do the pressing realistically, don't expect a miracle. I'll always tell people that you may only get a half a point for all your effort, but I've gotten some improvement here that was above and beyond even what I had initially expected.
Yeah, and I just think that it would be good for people to see what the comic looked like when you got it.
Yeah.
The process you took of cleaning it, pressing it, and then sending it to CGC.
Yeah.
Getting it back and what the grade is. And with your experience before it goes in to get graded, just give you a rough estimate of, okay, this right now in this condition looks like it might be a 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you send it in and see, and then it can be like, okay, so to take the time and the effort to clean and press will make a difference.
If anybody's interested, just let me know down below.
Yeah.
We'll see. But we're going to go ahead and get started here. And this one, not worth a fortune, but I really wanted to do this one because this is the anniversary cover. And how many of those are there? Like 32? Do I need to take the bag off?
Yeah, it'll help. Yeah, that helped with the glare. It's a new glare, but you can still see it pretty good.
Will you tell me where to stop moving it?
Okay, lean it back again. Yeah, that's good enough. I mean, you got a glare, but you can see it, but it is a glare.
This one was already a good copy. I think it was maybe around a 9.2, but I went ahead and I pressed it out anyways. It wasn't really dirty, but I would have guesstimated, if somebody were to look at it, they might have said it was a 9.2. And not a terribly, how about if I angle it out?
Okay, just stop moving it, because I'm moving,
I'm sorry.
doing a little
sorry,
pan.
folks. A little technical difficulty here.
Yeah.
I know, she's the expert at the camera. I'm just
but expert.
I know. Well, you do pretty good. It's not a ridiculously valuable book, but I love these anniversary covers with where it's got the border drawn all the way around. Mm-hmm. And these covers, the covers that came out that month, I forget how many there were altogether off the top of my head. They're very popular with a lot of people, despite the fact that they're not terribly valuable, except for that Web of Spider-Man, which looked like an afterthought. Some of you know what I'm talking about. But I couldn't resist. Fan of G.I. Joe, fan of that type of cover work. And, you know, to pull that up to a 9.8 is just outstanding. I was really happy with how this came back. How does that look?
Mm-hmm.
Really happy with that. Larry Hama's story, no kidding. And we'll continue on here. And again, all of these I worked with. All of these went through cleaning and pressing and so on and so forth. Now here's one. I didn't expect much out of this. It was a lot worse than this though, but this is a very important issue now, and that's the Marvel Heroes or Superheroes Secret Wars #8, first appearance of the black costume who would turn out to be Venom. Venom, the living costume that was on the Spider-Man, and you see that's a 6. It's probably like a 4.5 when I started on it, but there's damage to this that just really couldn't be restored reasonably. But I was able to get some improvement out of it. And again, it is an iconic key issue. This is something that even in a lesser grade, people would be after it. It's important to a lot of Marvel and Spider-Man and Venom collectors. And
Okay.
you want me to turn it over?
Yeah, you can go ahead and turn it over.
Take a look at your Atari Frogger advertisement there. I think that was the Atari. But yeah, you saw, like, you probably noticed that foxing, or sometimes called chewing, that was across the top front of that cover. You can't fix that. You know, you can't. I mean, there are ways, but
What causes that?
sometimes water damage. If it's exposed to moisture and dries way out and it chips, or sometimes it's caused by rodents. Although I don't think a rodent got to this one. Mishandling. You know, there's a lot of things. But considering it's a 6, that's still, the cover still looks really good. Even for a 6. It's, somebody would look at that and say, that looks better than that. I want to invest in that.
Right.
This one, you won't find too many of these. And even at a 9.8, not worth a fortune. But man, I had to have this one done. Logan's Run, #1 from 1977. We're watching that original TV series now.
Yeah.
1-season wonder, based off of the movie.
It picks up when they left the Dome City.
Yeah.
Well, it starts back and where they left the Dome City, and now they're on a journey looking for sanctuary.
Yeah, but
Logan, Jessica, and Rem.
And the story, you know, it goes in a different direction from the end of the film. It's like a what if version. But yeah, a solid 9.8 on this. This is a keeper, just because of the nostalgia of it. Again, even at a 9.8, not worth a fortune, this one, even though it's kind of rare, especially from 1977. But it just, you know, I like the original with Michael York. I like I'm liking the show, and the comic is pretty interesting as well. And this one was originally like a 9. I would say maybe a 9. It had some rolling, had a couple of dents in it in the cover, and I managed to work that all out and get some really nice results. I'm not even sure I was expecting a 9.8. I thought, oh, maybe I can pull it up to a 9.4, maybe a 9.6. So a 9.8 out of that was fantastic. I was like, wow, okay. Supervillain Team Up, #1 from 1975. And this one is a 9.2. I honestly expected a little better out of this one. I think this one was like a 9 before I got started on it. And I was like, oh, you know, I can, maybe I can pull this up some. But some turned out to be just 0.2. But that's okay. That's okay. You know, it's still an improvement, even if it's a small one. And when you get past 9, every one of those markers means a lot. If you're talking about value anyways. For me, these aren't always about the value. Like I said, that Logan's Run, not worth a fortune, but I want it. And that G.I. Joe wasn't worth a fortune, but I want it. So a 9.2 for the supervillain team up. That's okay. And eventually I'll get one in a better grade, and we'll take it from there, because that's how it goes.
Okay.
Now, this one was a knockout also. Uncanny X-Men, defeated by the Dark Phoenix, first appearance of Senator Robert Kelly. From 1980, X-Men 135, 9.8. And this, oh man, maybe an 8.5 when I started on it. So that's a big jump to pull this all the way up to a 9.8. And I remember working on this one a lot. It had some soiling on it that I cleaned off, and the spine was uneven. It had a big separation at the top. There was because it can have some overlap showing, but they don't like there to be more than a 1/16 of an inch, and they'll take points away from that. And I could do a video talking about like what's acceptable as far as defects to still get a 9.8 out of a book. If anybody's interested, that's something I could talk about. This book in this grade's actually worth a pretty penny. You can get some good money for this in this grade. But I love the Dark Phoenix cover. Very classic John Byron cover there. Chris Claremont story. Back when X-Men stories were really good. Chris Claremont was the man. But that was a nice pull. And I've got a couple in here that blew my mind when I got the grades up. Now this one was a little disappointing. It's another one of these kind of anniversary covers. 25th anniversary Marvel here. X-Men 211 and a 9.4. And this is another one that was maybe a 9 or a 9.2 when I started. And I thought I did a little better than that, but that's okay. A 9.4 is still an improvement. I was hoping to pull it higher, just because I love those covers. Again, any improvement is an improvement. I can't complain too much.
Can you give us a tip on, if you have loose comic books, how to properly store it, maybe?
Well, I think they should always. A lot of people like to store them standing up. I think when they're stored standing up, the bottoms can get crushed, and then you get that little bit of a turning where it starts to turn on the top staple. I like to lay them flat and invert them. Like I put this book down, and then the next one goes on top facing the other way.
Yeah, okay.
And you turn and turn and turn, and they should be, of course, bagged and boarded.
Okay.
That way, you don't get unevenness from the spine. And cool, dark, dry place, obviously, is very important.
What about in those comic book boxes?
Yeah, a lot of people, the comic book boxes just make it a lot easier. They do make it easier. And if they're standing up in the boxes, you probably want them to be in there kind of tight, I think, just so they won't shift too much. This one almost made it. This is another one I was hoping would be a 9.8. Started out at about a 9. Was the Micronauts #1 from 1979. Micronauts, of course, an original Mego toy. Well, not original Mego toy. They adapted it from Japan, but Mego brought that to the United States. Micronauts. I have a Micronaut back here somewhere. I thought, yeah, I do. Sitting here. There's a Micronaut. I thought I would make it to a 9.8. Didn't quite make it. And this one, again, it wasn't in fantastic condition. It was good shape, but it wasn't in fantastic condition. Not quite sure why it didn't make it all the way.
Do they tell you? Do they send you like a little list saying this book failed this or failed that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are grader notes, and it used to be that they wouldn't give you the grader notes. What was it until if it was less than an 8 or 8.5, they would put grader notes, and now they've increased it. I think if it's a 9.2 or a 9.4 or less, they'll put grader notes. But on a 9.6, I don't think they're going to tell me. But this was one, again, it was in really nice shape, but it was probably like an, I don't know, 9-ish. But pulling it to a 9.6 is still really decent.
Okay.
This one is a Godzilla #1 from 1977. And it had some damage that can't really be restored, but it was in pretty rough shape overall. I mean, this thing was probably like a 5.5 or a 5.5, 6, maybe actually. But it had some rolling. It had some creasing because it looked like someone tried to fold it. It took a lot to work on it. I guess I was kind of expecting it to come back an 8 or an 8.5. Again, any improvement is an improvement. One of these days, I'm going to get a 9.8 of the Godzilla #1 from Marvel, which is hilarious. I think he fights Shield in this issue. Shield fights a Godzilla.
The agent of Shield.
Yeah, Nick Fury and the agents of Shield fighting Godzilla, and you can imagine how that went. But there are some things on here that, you know, it just couldn't be fixed. Like, you could fix it, but like, you see that color break, and the color break is where you see that white line. It was folded so hard that the ink was damaged. That's a color break. And you could do something to fill that in, but a black light will reveal it, and then you'll get a restoration grade, which is when it's a purple label. And then that's worth less than a regular grade. So it's like, why'd you even bother to restore it? I can understand for historical value if it's a very valuable book, but otherwise. This one is another one of those, another one that I worked really hard on, actually, and that is the Iron Man 282 first appearance of the War Machine armor. And this one was probably an 8. Probably an 8. It had rolling. It had some folds, but they were folds without color breaks. And I was expecting a 9.2, maybe a 9.4. So the 9.4 is a good grading. But there was, you know, some things that couldn't be fixed. Like, there's a couple of spots on here. There's only so much you can clean, and then you're going to damage the book. So you don't want that to happen. And it's another significant key. A lot of people like to collect this one. Iron Man's still very popular. Just ask Hot Toys. But you see, like, if I turn it over on the back, you see there's a spot right there. That spot goes all the way through. You're really not going to clean that up. And there's a bunch of ticks on the spine from where there were folds. So I got the creases out. You know, and I can show you on the front again here real quick. I'll show you what I mean by those ticks. You see those spots there? Those creases came out, but those ticks are still there. You got enough of them, and they don't like that. But a 9.4 is still really nice for this book.
Okay.
I hope I'm not boring everybody. If you're not familiar with this. Kirby Classic right here. Almost made it to a 9.8. Devil Dinosaur. Another one that was like an 8. I got this at a show. Cleaned it because it was, well, especially the back cover was really dirty. It looked like it was run over by a car. All the, you know, that black soiling, like, ground in dirt that you see sometimes. But that's classic Jack Kirby right there. I love this cover. Devil Dinosaur #1 from 1978. And man, this must have been a 7.5, maybe. And so that's I'm really impressed with that. I was hoping to pull it past a 9, and when I cleaned it up and I pressed it, it came out really nice. And I was like, ooh, this looks good. This is gonna grade good. maybe a 9.4, but I got a 9.6 out of it. It's just one of those books you just love having. It's so so classic 70s, so classic Jack Kirby story and cover. First appearance of Devil Dinosaur and the Moon Boy, by the way, because you know Moon Boy. That's how he rolls, with a dinosaur. This one I'm a little disappointed in, but there was some color breaks in this that couldn't be worked on. You see one here and one down there, color breaks in there. It's Miss Marvel #1 from 1977. And honestly, I would have called it a 6.5. So still a 7.5 after cleaning and pressing. Can't complain. And there's a stain, I believe. Yeah, there's one on the back cover that goes all the way through, even though it's on the edge. And that's from moisture exposure.
What's the significance of getting your book graded?
Well, for some people, it's about the restoration. It's about keeping it preserved. For some people, it's about establishing a value. Because I could sit there and I could bring this book to someone. Let's say I was going to sell it, and I could say, "Oh, it's a 7.5," and the other guy goes, "No, it's not. I think that's a 6." And then you have that little bickering. This gives you a third-party opinion from a professional to try to guarantee a value, and that'll help you with selling it. And of course, the higher the overall grade, the higher the value of the book. In my case, I like preserving them. I like the way they display like this, you know. And again, of course, it doesn't hurt to have the concept of an established value. This is one, I got a couple here I'm saving for the last. This one's not worth a fortune, but after I pressed it, I knew that it was going to hit a 9.8. I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, this is going to grade high. I'll go ahead and send it in. It might be worth $100. And for people that work with CGC, that's a sin for some of them. Like, oh, it's not worth it. If your book's not worth at least, 400 or 500, you shouldn't bother. And, you know, they have all these arguments, and that's why CGC is so slow. No, it's not. There's a lot of that's not the reason why CGC is slow, believe me. I did a video on it not too long ago. You want your books to come in faster, why don't you get them to stop doing private signings for a minute? They got like 3 announcements a week as it is. But it's really about what makes you happy. I wanted to grade this book. It's my money. You know, they're not paying for it, so don't worry about it. Spider-Man Unlimited #1 from 1993 in a 9.8. I wanted to do it, and I did. And I figured, you know, it wasn't that far off anyway. I just figured, you know, a quick press couldn't hurt it, and I was right.
Now, I know you don't collect modern books, but do you think modern books have the value of books from the 50s and 60s?
They know they don't. That's why they make so many variant covers. So there is a limited, there's only 25 of this cover, there's only 50 of this cover, and some of those still don't sell. Think about it.
Do you think in 20, 30, 40 years they might be valuable?
I'm not sure. It depends on the popularity of the storyline, because a lot of the modern stories aren't that good. There's very few. Like Something is Killing the Children is very popular.
I was thinking about reading it.
It's well written. The original Walking Dead was well written. You know, there are a handful of modern stories, but most of the modern stories, they're not that good anymore.
I'm watching the Invincible. I'm waiting for season 2. It seems good so far. You know. And I'm thinking. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I've been looking at getting into Something is Killing the Children. I read the little overview online to see, you know, if it's something I want to get into.
Okay.
That's all.
This one is Spider-Woman #1. from
Is it Spider-Woman?
1978. Yeah, of course. That's the original Spider-Woman right here. Spider-Woman #1, 1978. And this is a 9.2. And it was probably an 8.5. But again, there's a couple of things on here that couldn't be fixed. There's a little color break over here, I believe. And whatever. This is one that has some potential. She's going to turn up again sooner or later.
You think so?
Yeah, she might. And if they put her on TV or in the movies, the value on this will jump. And it's not that high right now.
Then they'll get some girl that's a supermodel that weighs 98 pounds.
Oh, God, I hate that. There are muscular females who can act that would look better in a lot of these. Although with Spider-Man characters have always traditionally been...
teenagers.
Or thin, rather. They've always been kind of lanky, like a ballet dancer's body. And of course, this is a new origin. New origin of Spider-Woman. Figured it couldn't hurt to send it in. Was hoping to get a little more than 9.2 out of it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I worked on all of these, and every one of these is an improvement from where the grade was. This one, I wasn't expecting too much out of, and that is the Amazing Spider-Man 301. And this one is very popular primarily because of the cover and because of the connection to Spider-Man 300, which is the first official Venom, which is a very valuable book.
Venom is a Spider-Man villain?
Yeah, well, Venom, well, you saw him earlier, that black suit. The suit is Venom because he's a symbiote. He's a parasite, really. And he connected himself to Spider-Man. Spider-Man got him off. He attached himself to, what was that character's name? Now I'm drawing a blank.
Tom Hardy?
No, it wasn't Tom Hardy. But he connected himself to the, yeah, you screwed me up now. That's all right. He connected himself to someone else. He became officially Venom. And that book is very valuable. And then this is 301, and it's part of that series. And so even at a 9, this is still a desirable book to a lot of collectors. They love this classic cover also. That classic McFarlane cover. Because it's McFarlane cover and art. And he's well known for Spider-Man. Just as much as for Spawn.
And seems like he real known for Batman.
Yeah, well, that's in the...
action figure.
That's in the action figures. But this was like an 8. I got a 9 out of it. I wasn't expecting too much more just because there's some dents and wrinkles and stuff in here that just won't come out. But again, can't complain too much. This one falls into that category also. You got your New Mutants #1. Almost made it. It's a 9.6. I was hoping to pull a 9.8 out of it. Didn't quite make it. Did not quite make it. Not sure why. But this was maybe a 9. It had some rolling and it was off center. And I was like, yeah, I can press that out. And did for the most part because I got it to a 9.6. Underrated first issue, I think. Got a couple of big surprises in here that I'm going to show. Almost done with the box. Chris Claremont's story, of course. It says second appearance of the New Mutants in their own fabulous issue. This is one to watch out for in the near future. I didn't have to do too much with this one, really. This one was in really decent shape. And you've got to be really, really careful pressing something like this, a hologram cover. Amazing Spider-Man 365, 9.8. And this is the first appearance of Spider-Man 2099. And people are waiting in bated breath for Spider-Man 2099 to make an appearance, for him to show up. Because it's going to happen sooner or later. They're going to do Spider-Man 2099 in a movie, on a show, or something. And then this is going to jump off. Even though, you know, early to mid 90s, because this is again 1992, Marvel was overproducing a lot of books. And this is very likely one of them. It's one of 3 books that were released Spider-Man wise with a hologram cover like that at the same time, around the same time period. So expecting for this one to jump in value. There's a lot of people speculating about this one right now. And it has the poster inside, and that's important too, because sometimes the poster's missing. But there's a gatefold poster of Venom and Carnage on the inside. Another thing also is these holograms are usually in pretty crappy condition. They don't hold up well, these old style holograms. So finding one without all kinds of scuffs on it and everything, it's pretty tough. Now here's where it gets real big. This one was in terrible condition. And that, of course, is New Mutants number 98, first appearance of Deadpool. Very significant comic. A lot of people are looking for this one. From 1991, Rob Liefeld cover and art. And this one was in terrible condition. I say terrible. I shudder to think what they would have graded it as if I sent it in as it was. For it to be a 9.6, this is like my miracle pull right here. It had scratches. You can't tell it ever happened. Right across the face of it, there were like 4 lines that came right through here, right across here. They were it was a 3 inches long indentation, 4 lines. It looked like a cat had scratched it, but it didn't break the color. It just dented it through. I mean, you could feel it, you could see it, and it went through to like the 3rd or 4th page.
Oh, God.
And I was like, holy crap. And I'm looking, because I looked at the back of the cover even with a magnifying glass. Did this punch through somewhere? Because it looks like it did. It looks like it was just torn through. And it didn't cut through, and it wasn't a color break. And it had some rolling also. So this was all uneven down the side. And I'm like, I'm going to try to work on it. And I got it pressed out. I pressed it a few times, actually. I think ended up pressing it like 3 times and got rid of those lines. They were gone from the cover. And there was a couple of dents too, like I think on her face and down here, like a pockmark, an indentation that went into that cover as well. I mean, somebody might have said 7 or 7.5, because especially if anything is defacing the cover, they don't like that. And so that's my miracle press to pull a 9.6 out of it with the damage that was on that cover. I wasn't sure if I could get it out, and that's a really impressive grade considering. I'll show you the little Punisher ad there on the back. So yeah, really proud of how this one came out. Took a lot of work. I was surprised, actually. And then lastly, another one, and this one was mostly just rolled. It had rolling, and it was a little dirty. And I cleaned it up, and I pressed that spine roll out, because some people they roll up the books.
And you put it in their back pocket.
Yeah, something like that, and then it's just never the same again. It's ruined. But Thor 337, first appearance of Beta Ray Bill from 1983, and I got it pressed and I straightened it out and I cleaned all the soiling that was on the back. And there was some on the front too, in the white parts, like here, up through here, and on the edge there. There was some soiling as well. And I got a solid 9.8 out of it. And this is a very significant book. Again, this is another one that's a really hot book. A lot of people looking for it. And really proud of how well it cleaned up.
Do you think kids read comic books nowadays? Because
No.
back in the day, mainly kids were reading comic books.
Yeah.
And buying and trading.
Well, adults were reading it too, but yeah, it was a majority of children primarily. But I think far fewer kids are reading them now. I don't know that they're as... I don't think kids nowadays read anyways. You already know how I feel about that, especially after having worked for the Juvenile Justice Authority. Those kids don't read nothing. Kids don't read anymore. They look at TikTok videos.
Yeah. That's true.
But yeah, really happy how this came out. This is definitely a keeper.
Where do you think the comic book market is going? The direction?
Right down the toilet. They're all, and that's a subject for another discussion, of course. It's too full of people's agendas. It's terrible right now. How full of how manipulative a lot of the writing is. Too much emphasis on cover variants. Too much emphasis on art. And that's fine if you got good art in a book, but it's got to have a good story. You could have crappy art, and if it's got a great story, it'll stand out. It'll stand out, and I don't think there's very good writing anymore in a lot of the modern books. I've tried to look at a few things, and I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to sit here and read this. Or it looks familiar. It's been done and done and done. But I think I got some really nice pulls out of this. And it's a shame that it's taking so long for CGC to catch up. And it's making PGX and CBCS a lot more desirable. People still consider CGC to be the standard, although, and they have their complaints, but I don't really see too much of a difference between the grading styles of the three major companies.
Will you get more money for one and not the other? Like you said, CGC, you got that Thor book at a 9.8. Let's say you had, it's what, 4 companies? You had one from all 4 companies and all of them was a 9.8. Would you get more money just because that one is CGC and the other one is somebody else?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
CGC will still pull more, followed by CBCS, and then lastly PGX. PGX gets a pretty bad rap because of some complaints, but the complaints were from more than a decade ago. I know somebody who, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to buy high-grade PGX books and crack them and send them into CGC, and they told me like more than 80% of the time they get the same grade back. So the grading's not that far off from... And of course, remember, grading is always, even though they are professionals, it's still subject to opinion. You're still counting on the opinion of the person who did the grading. And that's something to really think about. But yeah, I mean, if you send it to CGC, costs more too. CBCS and PGX are cheaper. And also, PGX and CBCS will authenticate. Like if you have, I get a box full of autographed books, and many of them with official certifications, but CGC will not recognize those certifications. They refuse to acknowledge them. So you would have to use CBCS or PGX to get them acknowledged. And of those two, PGX I think is the least expensive for verifying, because they're still going to charge you for verification when you send your autograph in. PGX is the cheapest of the two in that respect. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my books. I know we went on for a long time. Took our time here and talked about it. But yeah, that's my work. And I'm sorry, don't have before photos. Wasn't thinking about it at the time because I'm not giving like tutorials, although I have put one up. I did a tutorial of a rescue book that I cracked open that's going into CGC with a bunch of other Silver Age books here shortly. And I did really good work on that book as well. A couple of them that I did that I'm hoping to get a nice grade out of. But hey guys, let me know what you think. Please do give the video a thumbs up. If you're a diehard CGC person and you're mad at me for sending in books that weren't worth at least $500, oh well. I don't care. It's my money. And that's not the reason why CGC is slow. It's not because people are sending that. They'll take all the books they can get. They don't care what condition they're in. They don't care if it's going to be worth $10 after it's graded, because they're in business to make money. They don't care about your comics. Okay? But anyway, all my snarkiness aside there, because I'm not really trying to be rude, but at the same time, I've heard some pretty mean comments about that kind of stuff. Really happy about how this Dark Phoenix cover came out too. Wow. That's a desirable book right there. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Anything else you'd like to see comic related or any other discussions, feel free to put it in the comments post down below. And I do try to respond to as many as I can. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got anything out of it. Hope that you did. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff. Check out some of our other videos. We do a lot on this channel. It's all nostalgia. It's not just comic books. Talk TV and movies and vintage toys and all sorts of things. I really love this Logan's Run. I love that one. So if that's it, then what more can I say? But thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.